So are we seeing a new normal in a way, Albert, or just a settling in after having the system be the way it is, 5-year contracts for first rounders. After the third year, you got to pick up a 5th-year option. That we're now seeing that if a quarterback doesn't get a deal after year 3, that's now a breaking point. Is that what we're seeing right now?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's sort of the trade-off with the rules because, the owners were adamant about putting that rule in 2011 because they had players come back after 2 years and hold out. Like, you remember the Chris Johnson holdout all those years ago. That was after 2 years. So they wanted to make sure that they'd be in a position where players would have to wait until the third year. The problem with that, the flip side of it is you take away the gray area and you really, draw a line in the sand there where it's like, if you really love me, then you're going to take care of me as soon as you can, and as soon as you can is after year 3. So, I think for players, and it's not just the extension, it's also you got to make a decision on the 5th-year option, right? So, players are thinking about those sorts of things in advance, and you get after year 3, and you feel like your team may be kicking the can down the road a little bit, and you're not in as secure a position as, say, Andrew Luck was, who waited 4 years, or Cam Newton was, who waited 4 years. And, I think there's definitely that in the back of your head where it's like, maybe I'm not going to be here long term. So, I think you look at the history of the last 5 years of what's happened after 3 years with quarterbacks who were drafted in the first round. And the history tells you that teams that are very sure about the guys that they have take care of them after the third year. And I think because that history is now built up, quarterbacks who aren't taken care of after the third year are going to see it as a red flag.
Well, I mean,
obviously Kyler does.
Right. Albert Breer here on the Rich Eisen Show, because it used to be prior, you said 2011, that was the year of the lockout where I lost my hair and you had to keep getting new pairs of shoes because they were worn out of you standing on a street corner in Washington, D.C. with us talking to each other on NFL Network, is that, owners in the NFL sick and tired of giving kids who had not played a single down in the NFL the most amount of money in the history of their franchise because they were drafted first overall, just like Matthew Stafford, for instance, when he came in. Highest paid player in the history of the Lions, boom. They say they want to see a few years on the field before making somebody the highest paid player in the history of the franchise. And thus, this new system came in. But at the same time, they also wanted to make sure they could win a Super Bowl in that first contract because they didn't have to pay that person that much money, and you could pay other people around him, and you could win, and that's the jackpot. That's what happened with Russell Wilson when he was drafted in the third round, though, but that's what happened with Mahomes. That's the jackpot. You're saying now, though, that prospects are pushing up right after year 3, so maybe teams need to make sure that they leave some money for year 4 and 5 to do that now. I'm just fascinated by this subject matter because when it all comes down to it, Murray clearly is generationally talented. Why won't the Cardinals pay him then? What's the point in that?
I mean, and that's the question that they're going to have to answer here. Why they haven't been more aggressive to pay him. Because, look, the fact is they have gotten better 3 years in a row. Now, I know, the ends of these seasons haven't gone the way they wanted. But, what Cliff and Kyler walked into was, arguably the worst situation in the league. And the roster was 32 out of 32 when they got there. The record was 32 out of 32. And they won 11 games this year. And they've progressively gotten better year by year. And so, I don't know what the hesitation is, but clearly, Kyler is worried that this could lead to something other than him getting a contract extension over the summer. Because, again, my understanding is, what they've said to him is we'll take care of him just later in the offseason. And clearly it seems like Kyler doesn't fully trust that. And maybe, again, it's because he feels like he's tied to Cliff. And because if Cliff's on shaky ground, maybe that means he's on shaky ground. To me, it's fascinating because it's unique. You see certain parts of it, like you're talking about, Rich, where it could be a trend, like the year 3 thing, the after year 3 thing. But on the other side of it, there's stuff that's very unique to this situation, such as the relationship between Kyler and Cliff specifically.
Hey, you watched all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Watch more right here.